Hey all! Amanda back again with your recap of the second night of qualifiers for American Ninja Warrior Season 13. It was another exciting episode, full of intense moments and thrilling runs. We had 77 runs in full, 41 of which were shown to some degree, and 36 cut in full, even though some of the athletes cut still appeared on the leaderboards. The 6-obstacle course remained the same as predicted, with no real changes. To hear a full breakdown of the obstacles and how to maneuver through them, you can check out my prediction video for this episode. Briefly, we had the shrinking steps, which led to wait for it. The host said you could reach out and grab the third handle while still holding the second handle, but that athletes must jump from the third handle to the last handle, catching the bar as it falls mid-air. Nothing was mentioned on how competitors can or cannot transfer between the first and second handle. I would have assumed you needed to catch the falling handles mid-air, but I saw a competitor in this episode grab the second handle while still holding the first, and nothing was said. I only bring this up in case a future ninja gets disqualified for the same action. It seems to be allowed, but I remember an unknown stipulation on an obstacle years ago caused Flip Rodriguez's season to end abruptly after a surprise disqualification. Yes, I'm still upset. Then, we had a changed-up split decision where athletes were given the choice between burn rubber or the broken bridge. We then had tipping point, followed by V formation. Ninjas can skip any handles they want on the descent down the back half of V formation, but must at least touch the fourth and final handle before they dismount. And then we had the final choice for the ninjas of scaling the normal 14.5-foot warped wall or trying once to climb the 18-foot mega wall for a chance to win $10,000. If ninjas fail their only attempt up the mega wall, they still have 2 chances to get up the regular wall. As for the show itself, again, I personally thought it was an incredible episode filled with great runs throughout. Since there are so many results to get to, I will get right to it and try to keep it brief, although I'm sure my opinions on certain things will derail me from time to time. First up was optometrist John Bundy, who travels to impoverished countries to provide eye care and glasses for those in need. John's wife was diagnosed with MS, and fellow ninja Lance Pecos was on the sidelines to cheer him on. John was slow and steady up the shrinking steps that took him out 2 years earlier, as well as the broken bridge, but could not figure out his hand placement up the vertical board on tipping point, and fell, ending his season. Janique Levitt was up next for her 4th year, and not only was her run not digested, but she absolutely killed the course. She came out endorsing her new Z-Fit bars, and her impressive performance tonight should have gotten her a ton of hits. She seemed to be in total control throughout the course, and looked like she had no trouble at all with any of the events, until her hand slipped off the first handle down the back half of V formation, just before she could jump to the next handle. This was the best run I ever remember seeing from her, and she not only took first place on the top of the women's board, but also took 19th place overall that night. First to be digested, and one of my first failed predictions of the night, Derek Miyamoto was tossing and turning all over the boards of Broken Bridge, where he fought for close to 2 minutes, until he finally fell. I had a good feeling about him too. At least he didn't give up. Next to be digested was Chris Crary, who came with his own brand of shoes that he gifted to the hosts, yet they provided no help when he completely missed the third tire on burn rubber and hit the water. Next, we had a heartbreaking story from 5-time competitor Julius Ferguson. I know that I've said many times in the past that I'm not big on having 10-minute sob stories before each run, and I know many of you agree. However, that is not always the case with me. If we're learning new things about ninjas that have been competing for years, that we have invested in, or, in this new season, the teens that grew up training for this, yes, I want to know more about them. That being said, there are too many times, in my opinion, where you hear touching stories of life obstacles and the human spirit enduring, but I don't think American Ninja Warrior is really the platform for that. I know the crazy events of 2020 caused Season 12 to be off, and most of the invited guests did deserve to be applauded, yet they are not really ninjas. I always enjoy the special episodes the show has done in the past, like an all-military episode or a first responders episode, but for me, it's hard for me to get excited for someone who's not only never been to a gym, let alone a ninja gym, but for someone who will never see again. These pillars of our community should be shouted out, but too many of the athletes that have put in the hours and sacrifice are getting cut right out of the show. It makes it hard to justify. Julius Ferguson is an athlete that has dedicated his life to the sport, and I felt really bad hearing about his story. It was also a wonderful way to meet newcomer Dan Champagne, whose run I will discuss shortly. Julius said he'd been homeless for a time before season 11, and Dan Champagne took him in and bought him a van to live in. It was a heartwarming story that I think we can all get behind. However, in season 12, 1 year later, Julius was invited to participate by friend and former employee Drew Dreschel. In my last video, I misspoke by saying Julius was a business partner of Dreschel's, but I think he actually just worked there. Obviously, the show will no longer mention Drew's name, and I'm sure they instructed their athletes the same, but I have to wonder, if Dan found out and helped Julius before season 11, did Drew find out after and help too, by offering him a job? Julius and Dan did say they met at a Hamden, Connecticut ninja gym, and I have to believe they meant Drew's gym. It's sad to think Drew may have been a good influence on Julius's life, and cannot be acknowledged, but this is all just speculation on my part. Guess we'll never know for sure. As for his run, Julius was a little slow up the shrinking steps, and kinda shaky crossing weight for it, but he was perfect across tipping point, and tried double jumping the landings up V formation. Unfortunately, he kicked the last handle, going from the first to the second handle down the back half of V formation, and though he fought to steady it, he was unable to grab the last handle in motion, hitting the water. Luckily, he made it there fast enough to take 8th place overall, advancing to the semifinals. I really like this athlete, and I hope he does make it to the finals. 55-year-old Legal Eagle Ninja John Kadashi had his run digested, where he staggered up the shrinking steps and missed the last handle on wait for it. Self-proclaimed fitness influencer Stevie Hall tripped across a broken bridge and fell shortly after grabbing the vertical board on tipping point, ending her season. Her run was digested. And Vincent Payne also had his run digested. He ran in an outfit he created himself, which must have brought him luck because he made it to the back of V formation fast enough to advance to the semifinals. His hands flew off the first handle as he made his descent, but he still managed to land 15th position overall. Next up was rookie Dan Champagne, and I think we were all now cheering for him right from the start. He slid through burn rubber and jumped high onto the vertical board of tipping point. He showed complete control as he jumped from the second to the fourth handle down V formation, and although he missed his first attempt up the warped wall, he was able to hit his first buzzer in his debut run with a time of 3:43.59. He took 7th place on the leaderboards. Three-time vet Ruben Arlano had his run digested, and though he couldn't hang on to the shelf at the top of V formation, he did get there fast enough to advance to the semifinals, taking 14th place overall. Emmanuel Well Jr. had his run digested when his hands let go of the first weight for a transfer. And Rachel Luba's run was digested after she ran up the shrinking steps but was unable to hold on to the rope and swing to the landing platform. Next up was Olympian David Payne, who held on to the first bar of weight for it while he reached out and grabbed the second handle that was attached to the first. I guess it was a legal transfer, as nothing was said, but he was unable to hold on when he jumped from the third to the last handle, ending his season. Future dentist Sarah Chang ran next, and I'm guessing this was her debut. She was full of energy and said she'd been training for 2 years, and it showed. At only 4'10", she squealed with delight after catching the last handle on weight for it, but had a hard landing. She was great across the broken bridge, but grabbed too low on the vertical board on tipping point and lost her grip. 20-year-old Britney Durant made her return, only to have her run digested. The Godfather David Campbell invited her to participate last year, and Monday, she made it to tipping point, where she was unable to make the transfer between boards. She did make it there fast enough, however, to take 4th place on the women's board and 29th place overall. 39-year-old rookie Jose Gomez brought bow ties for all, but still had his run digested. He was unable to make it up the vertical board on tipping point. Josiah Pipple was our next full run, and he was a featured sneak peek, but I did not watch. Knowing he was a sneak peek run, I assumed he would go far, but at 15, he was surprisingly calm and collected. He was fast and controlled on the first 3 obstacles, and had the presence of mind to readjust his positioning at the bottom of the second board on tipping point before jumping to the landing. Unfortunately, he was just short of scaling the mega wall, but was able to hit his first buzzer at a time of 2:53.76, taking 4th place overall. He participated in American Ninja Warrior Jr., and I think he will definitely be one to watch in the future. 17-year-old rookie True Becker had his run digested, although he was able to make it to the back half of V formation, where his hands just slipped off the second handle. He did make it there fast enough to take 9th place overall, advancing him to the semifinals. The Forever Ninja, Olivia Colasano, started her own animal rescue and was highlighted during the show's promo, but surprisingly, her run was digested. The 16-year-old fought hard, but got too tangled up crossing the broken bridge and hit the water, ending her season. 19-year-old trip hazard Riley Johnson's debut run made me laugh. Daughter of Cody Johnson, who made his debut in the Season 7's military episode, was great up until split decision when, after she finally decided to take on the broken bridge, she fell backwards off the step. It was just so unexpected, I couldn't help but laugh. She made it across, but landed hard on her butt, almost face planting, and I cracked up again. I was really disappointed when she was unable to figure out a grip going up the vertical board on tipping point, ending her season. I felt bad for laughing, but that was a really enjoyable run to watch. I really hope she comes back next year. The Cowboy Ninja Lance Pica's returned for his 10th season, and he really seemed happy to be back. He was having fun on the course, and laughed after he flew over the last board on Broken Bridge, landing in a hard belly flop on the landing. He was controlled through tipping point, but looked really shaky heading up V formation. He looked to be struggling by the time he got to the top shelf on V formation, and when he could not grab the first handle on the descent, he hit the water hard, back first. He seemed to be hurting when he emerged, but hopefully it wasn't too bad, as he was able to take 11th position overall and is heading to the semifinals. Cody Johnson, who was just mentioned, had his run digested, even though he was able to make it to the last handle down the back half of V formation fast enough to take 13th spot on the leaderboards. 30-year-old web designer David True Young made his debut, but it was digested. David face planted into the water after missing the first transfer on wait for it. And Milton Neku, once again, had his run digested, where he fell, once again, running up the shrinking steps. After seeing him pull up a crate onto the starting platform with a hand truck, only to pull out a mini buzzer, I get why his run was digested. But part of me does love to see the shock of someone trip up the steps. Unless it's one of my favorites. Then it's a heartbreak. Our next featured run was from 15-year-old Caden Ledsock, who veteran ninja Jake Murray is calling the best ninja in the world. Caden took 2nd place on American Ninja Warrior Jr., and he, along with some other teen ninjas, including Elijah Browning and Isabella Wakeham, have created Bucket of Chalk, an organization where purchasing a bucket of chalk for ninja gyms provides financial support for our athletes. Caden flew through the first half of the course and skipped 2 landings twice going up V formation. He skipped the second handle down the back half of the obstacle and went on to hit his first buzzer with a time of 1:49.09, taking the fastest time of the night. With an endorsement like that from Jake, I was scared the pressure might get to him, but Caden looked very at ease out there. He looks to be one to watch for sure. I was unable to get much info on Rachel Garland, but she is a singer-songwriter who serenaded us at the start of her run. She missed the second bar on wait for it and was out, and her run was digested. Another digested run was that of archery teacher Anthony Porter, who made his debut on season 11, but whose run was cut. Monday, he was able to make it to the buzzer with a time of 3:01.48, taking 5th position on the leaderboards. Next to be seen in full was Sweet Tea Tiana Weberly, who was able to hit her first buzzer last year, as well as make it to the Final 4 in the women's competition special. Tiana was flawless on the first half and debated on split decision, but made it all the way to the transfer on tipping point, where she was unable to position herself comfortably and had to jump from one board to the other. She was able to hang on momentarily, but her hands peeled off and she hit the water. Luckily, she was able to make it there fast enough to take 5th spot on the women's board, as well as 30th position overall. Brian Montanese made his ninja debut season 11 and was rumored to have been invited last year before modifications had to be made. Inspired by fellow competitor Jimmy Choi, after Brian's mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's, Brian runs for Team Fox, Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's organization, but dedicated Monday's run to his father, who passed away 3 years ago from brain cancer. Brian was good through the beginning, but tripped leaving the last tire on burn rubber and flopped to the landing. He made it to the transfer of tipping point, but could not grab the second board when he reached out, causing him to fall. He was able to land 28th position though, so we'll see him at the semifinals. 16-year-old Sophia Lovely had her rookie run digested, where she somersaulted her landing over the broken bridge, but fell at the transfer of tipping point. She was able to make it there fast enough to place 3rd place on the women's board and 26th overall. Kita Kashiwagi is a science teacher who made his debut run season 6, but after a car hit him while bicycling in 2018, Kita fought back from a traumatic brain injury to return Monday night. Still partially blind from the accident, Kita made it to the broken bridge, where he flipped off, hitting the water. His run was digested. Our next featured teen to run also brings with him an impressive advocate. Xavier Dansling takes care of his little brother, maintains schooling, and travels 2 hours to train with ninja vet Joe Moravsky. Though he never appeared on American Ninja Warrior Jr., this young man should be one to watch in the future. He tripped coming off burn rubber, but was fast up the vertical board on tipping point. He seemed unsure of how much pressure to use, maneuvering up V formation, looking like he was trying to skip landings, but missed the second handle down the back half of the obstacle. He was able to make it there fast enough to take 16th position, sending him to the semifinals. Victor Chan returned for his second year, only to have his run digested again. Victor debuted in season 11, where he went out on the second obstacle. Monday night, however, he was able to hit a buzzer with a time of 3:06.58, sending him to the semifinals. Alex Weber also had his run digested. Alex used to host Crushing the Course, an American Ninja Warrior digital exclusive, and though his debut run season 11 was digested, it was shown in full there. Monday saw his run digested again, but we did see him flip a coin on split decision and make it all the way to tipping point, where he jumped to transfer boards, but was unable to hold on, ending his season. Ninja Mom Sandy Zimmerman was next to be shown in full. Sandy jumped over the last board on Broken Bridge and was fast and controlled all the way through the course. After she scolded her dog for not paying attention to her run, Sandy tried skipping the second handle down V formation, as she did not like the angle she would have to jump from, but was not able to hold on and hit the water. She did make it there fast enough to take 2nd place on the women's board and 23rd spot overall. Though Kevin Breaky has made 4 ninja obstacles, including Cane Lane, Crank It Up, Lightning Bolts, and Spin Hopper, he still had his run digested. He was elated to just make it through the shrinking steps and actually made it all the way to split decision, but he started the Broken Bridge too slowly and stepped right off the second board, ending his night. He was thrilled to have the experience, though. And stunningly, Lucas Reale was next to have his run digested. Lucas returned for his 4th year and is one of the best ninjas to come along as of late. He was one of the final 8 last year, taking top times throughout the entire season. From what little we saw, Lucas is now newly engaged and once again set a top time after he skipped 2 landings twice up V formation and hit a buzzer with a time of 2:02.89, taking the 2nd fastest time of the night, taking 2nd spot on the leaderboard. I'll make an early prediction here and say he has another incredible run in the semifinals, maybe even winning a safety pass, and we'll be seeing a lot more of him later. I hope so anyway. And our last full run of the night was weatherman Joe Moravsky. I always predict great things from Joe, but that is not due to any great insight on my part. Joe has been so consistent since his debut on Season 5 that he was also invited to represent Team America on the US vs. the World Challenge Season 2, as well as being a regular on the All-Star competitions. And as usual, Joe flew through the first 3 obstacles with barely any hesitation across burn rubber, where the tires barely even moved under him. Joe had the top time beat by almost a minute when he got to V formation, but took a second and said exactly what I wanted to hear from him. He wasn't interested in time, he wanted the mega wall. Joe took a second to pump himself up and then sailed up the mega wall, winning $10,000 and still taking 3rd fastest time of the night, hitting the mega wall buzzer at a time of 2:04.10. He says he feels it this year and that he believes this is the year he can take it all. I hope he's right. We then closed the show with Akbar's picks of cut runs to be shown, and had Emmanuel Mcconnell, who's a cosplayer and Spartan artist, and I believe this was his rookie run, although it looks like he auditioned last year. He had a bad landing after swinging from the shrinking steps and fell back into the water. Melissa Jackson was shown in between commercials riding her unicycle. Her run was digested when she missed the transfer between handles on Wait For It. I believe this was her debut. And lastly, Zach Palezzo, a fire breather, could not make the transfer between handles on Wait For It either, and his run was digested. So, those were the 41 runs shown on air, but wait, there's more. Other athletes that qualified, but whose runs were completely cut, are Mike Beadall, the Albatross Ninja, is a skateboarding father who had his rookie run cut in full, but still made it to V formation and took 10th spot on the leaderboard. Michael Lairley, the Rose City Ninja, who debuted in Season 10 and returned in Season 11, but both runs were cut, where he fell on the second obstacle both times. Monday, his run was cut again, but he did make it to V formation fast enough to take 12th place, advancing him to his first semifinals. Jason Grossman competed on Season 10 at least, and made it to V formation Monday night, taking 17th place. His run was cut. Jonah Bonner is a gondoliera from Newport, California, who competed in Season 11. His run was cut Monday, where he made it to V formation and took 18th place on the leaderboards. Will Shalegata returned after being invited to participate last year by the weatherman Joe Moravsky. His run was cut, but he was able to make it to V formation fast enough to take 20th position, advancing him to the semifinals. DC Banks is a two-time competitor who I believe was invited to take part last year. This year, his run was cut, though he made it to V formation fast enough to take 21st position. Darren Perez is a Coast Guard from Guam, and though he resides in a U.S. territory, Perez actually has dual citizenship in both the United States and the United Kingdom, and as such, was able to compete on both American Ninja Warrior UK, and Suzuki Vietnam. Even with all that experience in ninja courses, his run was still cut. He did make it to V formation, taking 24th spot, advancing to the semifinals. I wasn't able to find much on Francisco Barrage, but it looks like he applied for Season 10 and got on Season 11, where he went out early. He was rumored to have been invited to take part in Season 12, but due to modifications being made, he did not attend. Monday, he made it as far as tipping point, but got there fast enough to take 25th position, advancing to the semifinals. Perry Madison is a student at the University of Connecticut and competed representing his college in Team Ninja Warrior College Madness, and later competed in Season 10 of American Ninja Warrior. He made it to tipping point fast enough to take 27th spot on the leaderboards. Other competitors who ran, but were cut, include Amy Harsky, a pregnancy and postpartum coach who debuted in Season 11, where she fell off the shrinking steps. Monday, she made it to the broken bridge. Arnold Hernandez is a gym owner, returning for his 5th season, and made it as far as tipping point. Ben Cooper is a student at UCLA studying aerospace engineering. He was to compete last season, but got dropped due to modifications being made. He made it to tipping point. Benjamin Burton is a freelance cinematographer who may have debuted Monday night. He made it to wait for it. Bobby Mick is a grandfather and competitive runner who posted a great joke on his Instagram account comparing his run to wrestler John Cena's catchphrase, "You can't see me." And in light of Bobby's run being cut in full, we were not able to see him either. I personally think this is hilarious. He made it to tipping point, and with an attitude like his, I hope he returns and we do get to see a run by him. LA psychologist China Balachandra was invited to participate last year after a boxing injury left him with a brain bleed and the removal of part of his skull, leaving him unable to do much, if anything, for himself. His run was digested last year when he went out on the second obstacle, and Monday, his run was cut in full, where he made it to the third obstacle, Broken Bridge. I wasn't able to find out much on Danielle Gray, but it looks like a version of American Ninja Warrior on Snapchat, hosted by Grant McCartney, opened a competition up to 12 amateur ninjas, where the top 2 got a chance to compete in Season 13. I'm assuming Danielle was one of the competitors to advance, but she only made it as far as wait for it. Earl Hooks is a trainer, coach, and youth leader who made his debut on Season 11 and was rumored to have been invited to join Season 12 before modifications were made. Monday, he went out on wait for it. Eric Reddy Rich is a stock trader, singer, and actor who went out on the shrinking steps. Jacob Sheba has applied for the show 6 times and was a walk-on 3 times. His run was cut Monday night when he fell on wait for it. Jaden Sylvester looks to be a younger competitor who has followed the show for years. This looked to be his debut run, which was cut in full, where he fell on wait for it. Jenny Nigan may have made her debut Monday night, but her run, that was dedicated to her father, who passed away 4 years ago, was cut in full. She fell on the shrinking steps. I was unable to find any info on Jerry Burrell, but he went out on wait for it. Jimmy Mickret is a gymnastics coach for boys at his local YMCA and fell on burn rubber. This may have been his debut. Animal groomer Kat Henshin returns, having been invited last year by Lance Pekas. Like Lance, Kat is the caregiver to a spouse with MS. Monday, she went out on shrinking steps, and her run was cut in full. Katie Lanza was invited to join last year by Tiana Weberly and returned Monday night, where she made it to the Broken Bridge. Lanny Woods is a 35-year-old ultrasound technician who fell on the shrinking steps. Marie Norris is an aerospace engineer who looks to have made her debut Monday night. She went out on tipping point. Matt Fieldhouse is an Army veteran, healthy life and mental wellness advocate, has competed in 2 Ironman competitions, and has finished more than 50 endurance races. He fell on wait for it. Michael Snell is a biology teacher who made his debut in season 11. Monday night, he fell on wait for it. Nina Flavin appeared on season 10 when she went out on the floating steps. The rheumatologist and mother of 3 went out on the shrinking steps Monday. Sloane Cameron made her debut on season 11 as a walk-on and was invited to join season 12 by the king of walk-ons, Dave Cavanaugh. Monday, she went out on Broken Bridge. I was unable to find much on Sydney Berger, but it looks like she's been dreaming about being on American Ninja Warrior since 2015 at least, and this may have been her debut. Monday, her run was cut in full when she went out on tipping point. Tegan Rubel earned her doctorate in physical therapy, and in 2019, she founded the nonprofit organization Overcoming Obstacles, Adaptive Ninja and Climbing, that offers ninja adaptive classes for kids with more significant physical and/or cognitive impairments. I feel like I remember this name from last year, but I'm not certain. Monday, she went out on the Broken Bridge. Tim Schnee is a public transit operations supervisor who returned for his 5th season. This is his 3rd run to be cut at least, and he went out on wait for it. Wesley Silvestri returned for his 4th season and continuously has his runs cut, even though he advanced to the semifinals each of those previous years. Monday was no different when he fell on wait for it, making this the first time he did not advance qualifiers. Zach Arnold trained for 3 years before entering the walk-on lottery for season 12. He did not get picked then, but debuted Monday, though his run was cut when he fell on the shrinking steps. So, that's it. All 77 runs from episode 2. It sounds like we missed a ton of great runs, and I do like the idea of cut runs being shown on some sort of online companion show. Hopefully, the producers run with that idea. With another great night of competition, it really has me optimistic about this season, and there's a lot more to come. We still have 3 more qualifying episodes to get through before we can get to the semifinals, and I can't wait. But speaking of waiting, episode 3 of American Ninja Warrior will be airing 1 hour later than normal, so be sure to check local listings for details. I believe the time change will only affect this one upcoming episode, but I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more interruptions during the Olympics in late July, early August, but as always, I'll try to stay on top of all the breaking news and bring it to you. Look for a sneak peek prediction video for episode 3 coming soon, followed by a recap shortly after. And of course, please feel free to play along by leaving a comment below, letting us know what you think of the season so far, the new obstacles and athletes, and who you'll be cheering for to take it all this season and become the next American Ninja Warrior. So until next time, enjoy the show!